Well, hey there and welcome to the church video series, and this lesson today we are talking and continuing in our section of storytelling, and in this second important element of storytelling that we'll be discussing today, we're going to be talking about location. There's an overlooked element in most videos that are made today. It's easy to think about your characters and your plot, your script, but what's overlooked all the time is the location. Where are your characters and your shots physically located? This is a vital component for any big budget feature film that is being shot, as the producers are normally going to be scouting different locations across the world, trying to figure out the best one for their movie. And while you likely won't be going across the world for your next church video, although who knows, maybe you will be, what are some practical steps that you and I can take to make sure that we're shooting in the best possible location? Well, first I want to establish that where your shots and characters are physically located is actually very important in what you're communicating in your video. You probably have heard that old saying that says 90% of communication is non-verbal. Well, this is also kind of true for videos. Now, I'm not actually sure of the precise statistic, but a lot of what you're communicating in your videos is not what's actually being said. It's the non-tangibles. It's the other components that are communicating very, very loudly. These components include the music, the color grading, the time of day of your shots, and yes, the location. So let's take a practical approach about this idea of location. Recently, I was filming a video about sexual exploitation within my city, how it's a big problem and how there is hope for the future. And we sat down with 4 different people to do interviews about this issue, and each person had a different perspective. And when we were sitting down to do the interviews, my video partner and I were very mindful that a big part of each of the shots was the location that the interviewee was in. So let's take a look at each of these 4 shots and where we decided to locate the character and the subject of each shot, and we can gain some helpful points and reasons behind it. The first interview was with one of our city councilors. This was shot in town hall in one of their boardrooms, and the councilor is a high-ranking official within our city, and he is also a politician and a professional, and so our location needed to reflect these things. So when we were thinking about the location that we wanted to choose, we wanted it to be clean, we wanted it to be modern, we wanted it to be bright, and we wanted it to be inviting. And these elements are going to convey trust, responsibility, and authority, and these are feelings that we wanted our audience to gain about our city councilor while they were viewing this part of the video. Our next interview was with one of the high-ranking police officers that was part of the Vice Squad in our city, and we also met with him at his office at the city's main police station. The interview had to be done in his poorly lit and cramped office, so we didn't have much to work with, but this is what we came up with. You'll see the badges in the background, and these are police badges from all across North America, and these play into his persona and his character. Also, the lighting in this shot is less even and inviting than the politicians, because as being part of the Vice Squad, this police officer is working hands-on with the prostitution and the sexual exploitation that's being discussed and explored in the video, and we wanted more of a grungy look because that made sense for him. The third interview that we conducted was with a psychotherapist, and we met in his office, and this is the shot that we composited. Firstly, you probably noticed the books in the background. Now, he's a highly educated practitioner, and that element of the location supports that characteristic about him. This shot is also well lit and inviting because we wanted to once again portray the feelings of trust and authority toward this specific character in the video. Our final interview was with a community member, a different perspective on this issue because they weren't an expert or a high-ranking official, but just an everyday person. And we met with this person in a park, and we chose this location mainly because it made most sense for a community member to be actually in the community. We met in a nice park on an overcast day, and this location lended itself nicely to the character and perspective that we were filming. The biggest takeaway from this lesson that you should grab is that when you're meeting with someone to interview them, meet on their turf. For each of the 4 people we interview, we met on their turf, and we didn't scout any of these areas beforehand, and so when you do that and you go into a location that's unknown, you've never been there before, you have no idea what you can get. You might run into a bunch of problems where you really can't shoot realistically in that location, but because we met on their turf and in their offices, this gave us the upper hand with any unknowns. You know, we didn't know that that police officer would have a cramped location and a cramped little office to work within, but we made it work. And we also didn't know that they were going to have all of those badges behind them, but that played really well into their specific character and persona. And if we had met in a neutral location, let's say, those badges wouldn't have been there, and it wouldn't have added that nice little element. So if we can apply this to a church video context, the next time you're shooting a baptism video, meet at the candidate's house and film the interview in their house. Not only are they going to be more comfortable and you're going to get a lot better response from them specifically, you're also going to have a location that's saying a lot more about them. And instead of meeting in a place that's neutral, like let's say the church office, you're going to get and add a layer of dimension to their personality and their character that you wouldn't get if you didn't meet on their turf. Well, that's all for this lesson of the church video series. We're halfway through this storytelling section, and in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about the plot of your videos and how that relates to storytelling and how we can build the right plot to tell our stories most effectively. If you're not already a subscriber to Pro Church Tools, go and do that, prochurchtools.com. You can become a subscriber. You gain access to the exclusive Pro Church Toolkit that is only offered to subscribers and readers of the site. So go do that. I'll see you in the next lesson.